Hi, my name is Ted Cogswell. I'm a surfer that lives in Salisbury, Maryland, about 30 miles inland from Ocean City. Ocean City is where I've done most of my surfing all my life. Even though I've surfed other places, I've always called this home. I started surfing back in 1971, and the footage we're going to see was actually shot in 1978 and 1979. First few rides here are of me in December of 1978 on a red 6-foot Stinger that I made a month before that in November of '78. Don Long would have been doing the filming here, running the 8mm camera. Don's also a Salisbury surfer. He's a native of Salisbury. This is Don surfing some of these waves around 75th Street. That place worked pretty good on a higher tide, so we'd go there if 66 was filled in. This is a different day, pretty day, offshore, sunny. I love those when you get them. Again, this is 75th Street. I guess every film's got to have a little seagull picture in it somewhere. And this again is 75th Street on a little bit bigger swell, also on a lower tide. Usually on a lower tide it would pitch out pretty good, and this day was no exception. You get some good rides there. The only thing you can say about this footage is it's not very moldy. Climbing around. He's another Salisbury surfer. He lives down in Wilmington, North Carolina now. Some more crappy footage with moldy film. The sand dune there was pushed up with bulldozers after some winter storms that year. They had some real damage. There was no sand dune left. High tide, it would lap over and come down the streets. There's Don Long trying to get amped up to get in that cold water. Again, this is December of 1978, so I'm sure that water was in the upper 30s, maybe low 40s by this time. Those were some cold winters. This is the Ocean City Pier on a good-sized day. If it broke outside the pilings, it was pretty big. On big days, we'd go stand at the railing on the end of the pier, get soaked as a set came through, and feel the whole pier sway underneath us. Even while the pier was still standing, I don't think it was exactly a firm structure. It was a little rickety, especially when there was a swell running underneath it. I used to love to just go out, stand on the pier, and watch the waves come through. It's a great perspective. You don't usually get that as a surfer, but it sure is fun. Size one. You see the shoals outside a little bit. Even back then the shoals would hit on a big swell. Now, these shots are of the pier when it fell after a winter storm in February of 1979. It was so cold that the ocean froze solid at about 100 or 150 feet off the beach. You can see all the ice in the foreground. Some of that is the beach, some of that's the ocean. The previous shot you saw of the pier with the T on the end, completely obliterated, pretty much chewed it back about halfway the length of the pier, back to that bait and tackle shop that you see there. If you look carefully, you'll see chunks of ice probably the size of a refrigerator being bounced around in the waves here. This was actually the next day after the ocean had thawed a bit. The swell was coming through, and it was breaking up the ice, which was a help, I guess. But it definitely had a creepy sound to it. This was shot off the boardwalk around 14th or 15th Street in front of the Seascape Motel. Good perspective from there. We're a little elevated. You could really see that ice floating up in the face and coming over. The sound of it was kind of creepy. It didn't sound like ocean waves breaking. It sounded more like somebody took a bag of ice and threw it down on the sidewalk and just skittered. It was this creepy sound of ice skittering and sliding across ice. There wasn't really a sound of water as you're used to hearing at all. We went down every day for 2 or 3 days just to get different shots of the pier, and every day it got a little foggier because every day it got a little warmer. You can see here the swell's completely diminished. Only a couple of feet here, but really got foggy and made for some neat pictures. That's Kip Martin standing there next to some chunks of ice and underneath the pier. That was really something to see. Around underneath the pier for a while, we actually decided we'd go up on top of the pier, even though there were signs, no trespassing, danger, blah, blah, blah. So we went out the end of the pier, took some pictures, and even then it felt a little sketchy. I remember thinking at any minute the whole pier could just collapse. You just had no idea whether it was strong enough to hold up under any even 2-foot swell. So we didn't stay up there very long. There's the piling right underneath that bait and tackle box that's up there on the pier. That's the end of the pier on that day, instead of the whole T and so much more of it. Another nice seagull. This is probably another day later, just to give you some sense of scale. There's an old tire laying on the beach and the chunks of ice. Some of them as big as that tire or even larger. Definitely not a very good day for surfing. Make a bottom turn and hit one of those, you're going to do your board and or yourself some serious damage.